Hey everybody, I'm going to show you how I gear my Egyptian civilization. I'm going to start from the top and go down. First thing I want to start out with is the Priestess. It's the second one. And there's two ways you can go with this unit is empower. You're empowering for your drop-off, or you're empowering for train speed for villagers or units of any type. I found this drop-off rate to be very high. The best drop-off rate is in the hundreds. But on the other hand, this is, as far as I know, pre-summer patch, that this is the best train rate. And putting this on your town centers helps out a lot to be able to train your villagers as fast as the other three civilizations. Without her on there, you won't be able to train villagers as quickly. I don't know how fast the other train rate staffs go, but this one at the time I saw was the best overall for train rate because it's the highest, and the drop-off rate is still 75%, so that was very beneficial, I thought also, so you can use it for both. With this priest, I just go for speed gear. The first temple, the Temple of Ra, you'll see these fortifications a lot on all my civilizations. 3.5% cheaper is 3.5% less resources you have to get, especially if you're building a lot of one type of building, like an archery range, for example. It does slowly add up. Now, the reason why I don't put wall joints on the first one, and I do put blueprint on the first one, is simply they're already cheap, and you're not going to save much in resources to put anything on there, so you might as well get it up as fast as possible to get to the next age. Now, I have the same cheaper walls, and some people are going to say, why not use just the iron wall joints that cost 11.8 or 11.5 is the one that's commonly used. And here's the answer. When you have 10 villagers put on to one of these with the priest sitting there with you, it's not going to take you that long. And let's use the fourth temple, for example, to age to 4. You have these wall joints on here, then you also use councilmen. It's not going to cost you a lot of resources to age to 4. So it doesn't matter that it's going to cost you a little bit extra build time, mainly because you are going to be aging up so early that extra build time is okay. So if I were you, until the level 40s of iron wall joints drop, and because they are only at level 31 right now, the level 40s would be worth it, but right now at 11.8% it's not. At least that's my humble opinion. Now when it comes to the other two priests, I don't use these guys often. As you can see, the gear is the same for their speed, and then I just made them cheaper. This probably isn't the best gear. Boots usually are the best gear, or train time. But me, I hardly ever use the priests in Egypt. They are very good, it's just they're not my game style. So I got a staff that helps him move faster, has some damage, and can convert cavalry really well. And this one is just pure damage, so we can cause conflict chaos among the enemy units as best as possible. But as I said, I don't use these too much, and the only time I use the Priestess is at the very beginning, the one I get, or I will build 4 more and put them on whatever building I'm using to build troops because of the train rate. Oh, the Chariot Archer, how much I loved you. Yes, I used to love this unit. I go pure range gear on him. You gotta have 2 things for this unit to work pure range, because he doesn't have much DPS with pure range gear, as you're going to see. the two things that you're going to need is this tunic or stronger, and speed boots, because you're going to want to make him faster. And then there's an age 4 advisor, which are really quick. I don't want to go through all advisors, but this advisor right here helps out tremendously with speed, and you're able to move your chariots much, much faster. So with that said, if you're gonna go go range, make sure you put some speed behind them so you can hit and run easily. If you do not want to go range, you're going to want to go the other way. You're going to want this tunic, but then you're also going to want to put a Ramses on there. You don't want to put Greaves because you don't want to make them too slow. You don't want to take your fastest unit and make them dirt slow, especially that they are not the strongest archer in the game, and they're a big population. And then you could put any bow and arrow on if you really want to make them cause a lot of damage in the first place. They're made to be a unit that hits and runs and gets away quickly. Your elephant archer was a very good unit before the patch, and I explained why in another post why they're not worth it anymore. One, their DPS has dropped tremendously, and two, they cost too much. But if you want to use them as support units in like a skirmish or a PvP or something else, a lower level map that's non-legendary, I put a legendary bow on there that has infantry bonus damage. I feel that their range isn't sufficient, so I make sure they have more range. And you could put the tunic on for damage, but I like to put more defense for them at least, so they can take a few hits, because they do cost you so much food and gold. They're not cheap, so you want them to last longer. And then you could have a Priestess heal your elephants, because they're not frontline units anyway, they're backline. And for me, I put the old gauntlets on. I know you guys can't get these, but 7% will help also for how much it does save and for how much these guys are costly. As you'll see, all four of my civilizations have every 4th slot item available. I might not use them all. You know, I might switch them in and out and change them up, but I want to be able to have that option, and I suggest everybody do the same. Make sure you get some boots, make sure you get every type of the 4th slot, because there might be a situation where you need it. Slingers, very rarely used. The only time I ever use a slinger is early on skirmish, if being rushed in a 1 versus 2. It's a good unit early on, but I decided to make pure damage, pure health, and not the best gear, but something just so we could see farther. I don't see the point of putting any money into a slinger at this time, as in any higher level maps they're just not worth it. And I suggest you all, if you guys find some good cheap stuff, put it in there, and you know, at least it builds up your score some. Okay, now we're getting into some buildings, and you'll see on most buildings they're going to have that wall and then a 7.1 manual. The only thing that is Aries on here is my town center. They're expensive, and I can't gear 4 civilizations with it. See, even this one, this has only a 5.4. That should be improved, and I don't like that I did that, but I think I didn't upgrade that for one reason, is because it is infantry, and I don't use infantry often. Same with docks, very rarely. I guess what I could do is start upgrading that now, because of the whole aspect of them trying to get a higher gear score. So I guess I could make them 7.1s now. Come on, take it. There we go. So then you go to your farms, and the cheaper walls. And then this is where I use the iron wall joints. I don't like paying 100 food for farms, especially when you need a lot of them. The Egyptians do a lot of farming because almost every unit you're going to use is food based, considering their archers are stinky. Now when it comes to fortresses, I don't have the best gear on the fortresses. Normally I wouldn't have this bow on either of these. If you look at your bottom right, I'd have these bows on there, but I'm saving both these bows for the next civilization, so I'm not going to be using them on the Egyptian. But if you get a bow for defenses for your forts or your towers, I have highlighted on the bottom right. It helps with stopping infantry, and it's highly effective. Now when it comes to arrows, there's 3 arrows that you can choose from. One, if you've looked at my Greek, it's the arrow with damage plus infantry DPS, 250 to 350,000 for it, so it's very hard to come by. So you really are only left with 2 options. One is making them pure defense, or 2, range arrows of some sort. And both have their pros and cons. Pure defense, pure damage, you're always going to get a consistent big chunk out of them, as in range you can hit them sooner, so you can start hurting them before they attack you. So either way works really well. It just matters on the style of gameplay you do. Now the walls of Titans that I have on both. The reason why I have a training manual here and not blueprints or wall joints, I wouldn't use wall joints, I'd use blueprints, is because I do have elephants that I do train. I do like the war elephant. The only time I ever build forts is for the Egyptians is when I'm going to do war elephants or elephant archers, so I make sure there's a book on there at all times. Now, I do make sure I have legend wall joints for your towers. Now people are going to say 18% compared to 11%, why not throw the 11% on here? And the simple reason for that is, if you get anything that has build speed on it as a hammer, like the Craftsman hammer has 14%, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't matter, because when you play a map like Paphos, for example, because if you can have legend wall joints, you're level 40. Let's say you're playing Paphos, you have enough time to build 5 of these with the legend wall joints on before they ever attack you. It will save you stone. I don't mind stone when I play Legend Paphos. I get as many towers as I need through buying the stone, and even the upgrades I buy the stone, because this makes it so cheap that you don't need to worry about how long it takes you to build it, as long as you have some type of hammer that has build time added into it. Now if you don't have a hammer that has build time added into it, I wouldn't say get this, I would say put a blueprint on there to make them build faster actually. Houses are all geared the same in all my civilizations. I like to be able to build them quicker. This is not the best, 4.4 is the best, but they're getting hard to come by nowadays that I've seen. And plus, epic blueprints. Lookouts are geared the same in all civilizations. Wall braces level 20 or higher, 23 is highest, and epic lookouts or legendary lookouts, whatever you can get your hands on, both of them work just fine. Going to your market, I use the train rate and the walls, and the same for all these buildings. Get down to your town center. You're going to hear a lot of controversy on this, but this is just my opinion on what I like. this is not necessarily the best. The Ares part is the best. Now, when it comes to walls, some people like to use these walls here to make them cost less. And instead of using this bow, they like to use the other bow that takes 4% off, which is 14 resources, I've been told. I thought it was only 4. I guess it's 14 of each resource. And then plus with that on there, it's even less and whatnot. But I like to gear my town centers to be able to take abuse. That's why you're going to see all 3 of these have health, have health, have health. And then of course you have to have the areas to train villagers and research to age fast as you can. The reason why I do health gear on a town center, and the only reason why I do health gear on a town center, is for maps like 1 versus 2 skirmish, maps like any elite recap, especially for a casual player, in legendary pirates, things where your town center is going to be attacked early. It's good to have them to be able to not just be able to hurt the AI, but to be able to take hits. I mean, let's say you had this and cheaper build stuff on there, but your town center would fall much quicker, very fast, and then you wouldn't be able to bounce back and you would just have to restart the game. So it's up to you. You have 2 choices here. Get gear that's going to make it strong. These arrows are droppables. You can't get those, but you can get different arrows to put in there. It doesn't have to be health. You can put damage arrows or any type of arrows in there. The silver pointed arrows do not work. They're to train time. This is a building. You're building this. You're not training this building. So silver pointed arrows will not work. So you're going to go 1 of 2 ways, as I was starting to say. Hit points or cheap. Either way works, but it's up to you. The Wonder, the same way, like I have been showing with buildings. You could go 2 ways with your Storehouse, the cheaper walls and a training manual, or cheaper walls and blueprints, but I like the training manual. It helps me train all the researches inside of the Storehouse quicker. The scout for the Egyptians is the only scout in the game that is javelin based, and as you see, I have lookout glass and an LOS gorget, which these are highly important. You want to try to shoot for a level 25 of this. Level 26 is max. You don't need legend means. It's way overpowered and overrated. A level 20 plus is what you want to get. And then this javelin is not the best javelin for line of sight anymore. There's another one that gives 25% line of sight. It's new and it just got released, but I'm being told that that is extremely expensive and more than the Linza means, so it's not something that would be suitable for 95% of the people that play this game, especially on a scout. The camel riders, of course I get Saragon horse armor for the piercing armor, and then legend greaves, so they're stronger. I use the Crete heavy spear for this unit. They have a good damage. It has cavalry armor, and then it also has cavalry bonus damage. It's my favorite spear. All you have to do is play Crete a lot. It costs 4,000 Crete points, I believe, and it's very effective. There's 2 ways you can go with an elephant. You can put hit point gear on him, or you can put DPS gear on him. One of the 2. If you want to mix and match, you can, but I decided to go with DPS gear as I found it was best suited for my game style. So when I say DPS, I mean really an epic spear that has the best DPS. Best DPS shield. Level 39 is the best of this. And I have a level 33 in it. We all know Fort Ramses are the best in that area too. When it comes to your caravans, you want to think speed and only speed. So I have this for my book with 3.3 speed, 5.1% speed, and 4.2% speed. You could use, if you're in the league that I'm in, the better hat, better hood, but it's like 225,000, and it's instead of 4.2, it's 7.1. If you want to spend your money on that, it might be useful. I don't know. Fishing ships. This is what I prefer to have. Not all of them have it, but I didn't care if 14% or 20%. I'm not a big fishing player, even though it is literally the best way to get food. Then normally you're going to want Hades arrows if you can find them. But if you can't find Hades arrows, anything will do. There's this speed armor that can be made, and then there's another one that's like 4%. And the 4 slot, this is what you would want. You're not going to attack with this unit, so damage and health really don't matter. Making it cheaper so you can get more of them out faster is more suitable for everybody. Transports. You want to make your transports as fast as possible. You don't really trade with transports, not many people do. So you're going to want to go with speed gear. As I said, Hades arrows, but I can't get my hands on any right now. And then epic sails. If you want to get legendary ores for speed that have 9.2, feel free. The Egyptians are the only civilization that does not have a hammer of Keveth, because I like construction speed. Now remember when I said wall joints? This is why. Now you see how there's a 44.3% speed, build speed, and legendary wall joints were 44.2% added. So what that's telling you is pretty much you're building you're aging at the normal rate. You're not aging any faster than anybody else does, because you have this build speed that matches how much longer it's going to take you to build. So I never see a real difference than Greek and the Egyptians for aging up because of the build, because of the hammer. It's just cheaper. But I suggest everybody to get a 35. If they can't get a 35, they do go as low as 33. Of course 36 is best, but the resources are still high at 12, almost 13%. Not as good as Keveth, but the key is getting aged up quickly and cheaply, and then being able to build your economy so a blessed hammer builds quickly enough to do so. There's always been a thing, do we use wood or do we go food? I've tested both out on all civilizations, and in the long run food would be beneficial, but in the short term wood is more beneficial. The reasons why is because you need farms, you need houses, you need buildings before you can ever do anything, so you need wood first and foremost for every building you do. Having food bonus that isn't really going to help you until you have 20 plus farms later in the game. You need all that wood to get it, so I find wood is better off for you even as the game progresses into 20, 30, 40 minutes later. Your economy was started earlier, so I think wood is best. A lot of people will disagree though. And then of course training time 8.2%. The Axeman is not a unit that I use often, so I just got any old axe on there. I got for infantry because that's what Axemen are for. DPS armor, and then just a cheap helmet anything in the 4 slot epic wise would be better. My spearmen, I go DPS with them. If I'm going to want to hurt the cavalry unit, you could get the cavalry spear out there, legend spear that has cavalry bonus. That would be more beneficial. That one would help out a lot more than this one, but this is the one I use. It seems to do the job. I also don't use spearmen a whole heck of a lot, so a legendary spear with cavalry bonus would probably do you much better. The Rostam armor, so you get the cavalry armor, is perfect. And I use a legend training sword so I can make a lot of these suckers quickly. With all the upgrades and whatnot, you can spam spearmen out every 2 seconds. Your catapult stream, you're going to want the dino arm, but if you can't get your hands on that, the titan arm is your second best. It's 14% range instead of 19+%. And the key is you want range on this unit so you can shoot farther inland on maps like Legend Pirates. So you go with, range again, and I prefer them to be cheaper. I'll wait the extra 42% just so I can have them. Dreams, not a unit that I like or use, so I just get epic gear with DPS and range. As you see, it's just the basic of the stuff. There is, of course, the legendary bows. Any of the legendary bows would be better. Same with the legendary arrows would be better. The armor you'd probably want for this that I suggest you do get is the armor in Cyprus, so it stops catapults better. And then this hull, or the next one up, which is Hull of Leviathan. Now my fire ships for Greek is different than the one for Egypt. One, I couldn't afford another legendary flask, so I went with Dragonfire, and because I'm not as strong, I went with range a little bit and then more health, because I wanted them to be a little stronger, because I'm not as strong in the DPS, so I might as well make them stronger in the hit points area. If you don't want range, you can just get better plates here too. The ones in Cyprus work, or the best DPS plates out there, not DPS, but best hit point plates out there would be better, because you don't have as much DPS, you might as well get as much hit points on that as you can. With the siege tower, like all rams, I try to get speed gear. This one was just one I grabbed. It's not the best ram. I suggest you guys, if you guys want to use rams, to get anything with speed, best for a ram. As you see, I don't even have that here, but I do have the legend wheels on them. Your catapults, you're going to want to go some range on these, because the range isn't the greatest, and you want to be able to outrange ballistas and forts. So I have the throwing armor titans on there, plus the runic, and because of my league, I'm able to get the wheels that have 28% damage. If you're not in that league, heavy cedar beams work just fine. They just cost you more. And last but not least, the pals. I find that their range is sufficient when you have Teemo. So all my paladins have the legend arms, so they can take building downs faster. Plus with the runic gives me 11% more range. And because they're already strong enough, I use the training time, and if I do need more damage, I would just switch it. I know that went through a lot of units, and I tried to explain it the best that I could. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop me a line on my YouTube page or on my page on the forums. You all have a good one.